This video and associated handout is about sending MSMS Tandem Spectra to the NIST26 Search, and is part of a larger series of the NIST26 Search capabilities, which can be found on my website. So, in general, NIST26 software includes an integrated data processing software in the chromatogram tab, so why would one want to use the vendor software to send Spectra to the LibSearch window for searching? But in some cases, it is useful to send these spectra from the vendor software for processing. For example, data processing requires conversion to an MZ/ML format with ProteoWizard and MS Convert, so it takes a little time, extra time. So if deconvolution is not needed, it's a pretty simple chromatogram, and only a few peaks are to analyze, it's usually just more efficient to send from the vendor software directly. Another case might be the file format or the vendor's file is not compatible when converted to MZ/ML format. And I have a separate video on nominal mass data, which is not supported at all within the chromatogram tab for MSMS searches. So there's really no choice in this case. So see a separate video link and handout link for details on this type of data. On my website, there is a process for the vendor incorporating their sending MSMS Spectra to the NIST library search. It's found at the following link. I've used Waters, Agilent, and Thermo for many years to send things to the library for searching, and even Wiley Know-It-All software now imports Spectra to the NIST search. They have a very good manual software package, and they support many vendor data file formats directly. I don't think SciEx or Brooker employ, but I don't know for sure because I don't use their instruments. They might have ability to export them as maybe TSP or MSP ASCII format, and then you can import them into the spec list, which takes them into the LibSearch for searching. Definitely not as efficient as the direct approach applied by Waters, Agilent, or Thermo. I'll demonstrate the send function that Agilent has put in their software. So I'll go to the Agilent program, and all you have to do is, this is the MSMS trace here. I select across it, average it, and double left click. It sends it to the bottom. Then I can right click on the box that's activated and say search using NIST MS program. And it sends it over automatically and does the search the way I have it set up. The first time you do it, you need to make sure things are set up properly. So I'm going to go through this basic setup first. So we'll go to the options. You go to Spectrum Import Options. And since we're doing accurate mass, you need to select the number of decimal places for the different tandem variables in this page. And also select the Accurate Mass to Charge radio button. So that looks good. You need to come up to the top where it has the options for the library search and click on it and go through those menus. So we'll do the search. We're going to do an identity, high resolution, no precursor. If you'll notice where it brought it in up here, because I average sometimes Agilent software in the top part here, this is the spectrum that was imported, does not have a precursor. If you wanted to, you could change it to with a precursor and click in spectrum, and you could put any value like the 372.1583 and search it that way. But for convenience, I'll just do high resolution, no precursor. You need a full spectrum search, which will sort by score. We need a default pre-search, so we make sure that's on. Go to the MSMS. You need to set the window that it uses for the search. So 20 for the precursor part per million, 40 for the product ions. And these are the same ones that we use in the chromatogram tab. So they're the same in both places. The libraries, you can add whatever you wanted to. I've added the HR MSMS, which is the high resolution NIST, and it has the low resolution MSMS NIST. And that library will be searched in accurate mass searches because they've added indices that allow that to be incorporated in the search results. If you had a low resolution library from yourself or maybe from an old one from another manufacturer, that would not work because they do not have those indices. You can, if you want to, add the MS dial, the two that I supply free on my website. We'll just add those. And we'll add the Mona LCMS is the other one I give away for free on the website. You can download them for your use. So I've got all of those now. If you wanted to do a structure search, of course, you'd have to load down the libraries that you wanted to use for the structure search, but I'll just leave that since we're not doing any structure searches right now. But keep that in mind if you need to while you're in this window. So now we've got 359,000, or that's actually not 359,000, that's 3,594,048 spectra to search. So that's set up. The automation, we need to have automatic search on, is good. And the rest of them should be okay as the default when you open the software. So down at the bottom, I like to have other things to show. So I have score. That's will be what the main sort will be based on. But you can also do reverse scores and PSS partial spectrum search. You can do the dot product, which is doesn't correct for things that score does, etc. Have the molecular weight. But if you want some of these other fields, and you can always sort them afterwards, and you'll have to go read my documentation what the reason you might want to do that and how you have to be careful, but usually it will be sorted by score, but you can resort on any way that you want to. If you want to change those, right click on the top here where the values are for the fields, the name for the fields, and go to properties, and you can add whichever ones you want. Just clicking here. Okay. So I think that looks like everything we need. So I always like to save my configuration after I get it like I want it. And this saves over the whole program, even the chromatogram tab. So we'll say save configuration. I'd saved this before as vendor import. So I'll just overwrite that because yes, overwrite it. And now we know we have everything right. And we'll do the search again. It did it automatically, but let's do it again to make sure we got all the parameters we want and say go. And you'll see at the bottom now we actually have one of the low resolution is the highest hits, and there's different ones for trazodone here. So if you wanted to get rid of some of the duplicates, you could go up to this thing that says best matching only and click on that. And you can see now all the trazodones go to give only the best, and the next one's something else. You can see it's dropped off a good bit, though there are some similarities here as you go down the list. But make sure, I usually have this off initially. I like to see all of the results initially. It really doesn't change your search results. It only changes which search results are displayed. The same thing for this filter here. You can filter things, and I usually do not enable that initially. You can add it later to see if you want to decrease the results in the bottom. So you can see when I click on this here at the top, best matching only, at the top, you had the number of spectra that were put into the list below in the pre-search. So if you click on that, you'll see it drops from 100 down to 53. So it just makes it easier to look at the results and gets rid of some of the duplicates. But again, I usually leave that on. The other thing you'll notice at the bottom here, the bottom right corner, it tells you the type of search, high res, no precursor, displayed, high res, no precursor. So it kind of keeps up with things for you. And then of course you have your unknown in the top, the best library spectrum that you selected using, I use the arrow keys to step up and down on the keyboard to look at them. In the middle is the head-to-head plot for visual comparison. There was one bug in the software I wanted to mention. If you go up to the options and say spectrum import options, I found it useful to filter out some of the noise by using the values here by clicking the box and entering a number. But if you do that, it clips off on my version of the software, and I think in general, it'll clip off all the accurate mass and only bring over nominal mass. So it would be nice to be able to use these, but until they fix that, you'll have to not select those. So I hope all of this information has been useful to you today.